Hi there, BookTube! My name is Christina and today I'm here in order to finally and definitely wrap up 2019. 2019 was quite a strange year. It was full of lovely things and full of very horrible moments. So I'm very happy that we're in 2020, but the beginning of 2020 was a little bit messy and around the way, so I don't know how the year will go, but I'm for sure ready at least to wrap up all of the past. And in doing so, I decided not only to film my two previous videos, so the best and the worst reads, or the most surprising and most disappointing reads of 2019, but I wanted to really check in with the goals that I had for 2019 and see how it went by the end of the year in order to have an idea of how will I do by the end of 2020, or to improve a lot or something like that. So my very first goal was my Goodreads goal, and fortunately, but just by the tiniest last moment, I made it. I read the amount of books that I decided to read at the beginning of 2019, but it was a little bit difficult. That's the reason why, if you watched my previous videos, you know that for 2020 I decided to keep the same exact number just because it was a bit of a challenge, so we will see how it will go this year too. My next goal was to resume my 12 and 12 project, in which I'm reading books published by authors or set in different European countries. And fortunately, I started doing so, and I filmed, I believe, 1 or 2 wrap-ups last year for that project, and I set myself a goal for this year to go on with that project, so I'm slowly going on. It didn't went as good as I expected, but it's something. My next goal was to finish at least 3 series, and phew, fortunately, if you watched one of my last videos, you know that I was able to finish 5 series in 2019. It isn't as much as I would love to, but again, it's something, so that one, check for sure. Then my goal was to read 2 books in French, and I did so and so because I read 1 book in French. So technically I cannot tell that I achieved that goal. My next goal was all about consistency here on BookTube, so I decided to try and post 1 video per week. And at the end of the year I had 49 videos, so I kinda managed to keep that goal in mind. It's not a complete check because ideally they have to be 52, and I have not uploaded videos each and every week. For example, I had a couple of weeks when I filmed nothing, but then at the end of the year I tried to upload twice per week, so it kinda went towards that goal, but we're not fully there. We will see how this one will go. But I don't want to try and push it too much because it is still a hobby, so I want to try and be consistent. But if there are moments in life when I'm just not able to film for whatever reason, because I'm not feeling quite well, or because something is happening, or because I'm traveling, I don't want to force myself and do it, because it won't be as fun for me to feel and for you to watch, because I believe that people really can feel what happens to the one behind the camera. So yeah, I will see how it will go. Then one goal was to change my thumbnail, and I changed it last year. So I started with no thumbnails, like no regular thumbnails at all. Then 2 years ago I had one pinkish, purplish with a circle in which you were able to see my face. Then last year I decided to change it a little bit, so there was no frame around me and it was just a triangle with a book and some written parts. And now for 2020 I have one new again. I only have the book and the written parts because, I don't know, I feel like less is more in this case. So yeah, last time I changed it, and I've done so even for 2020. So check! Then I introduced some rules for myself in 2019, and The first one was to start unhauling books, and I've done pretty well. I made, I believe, a couple of unhauls last year, and it's so satisfying, and I just feel lighter and happier when I unhaul books that just were sitting there and somehow drove me down because I was thinking about them and not reading them for whatever reason, or I read them and I just didn't want them on my shelf anymore. So now that I started unhauling, I'm much more happier. The next is a goal on which I'm still working on, and it's to start DNFing books. So I managed to do it in a couple of occasions, but in other cases I still have that kind of sense of guilt, which is completely stupid because I'm doing it for myself. So I'm the one that isn't satisfied with the reading experience, and then the one who judges myself for not finishing that book, and the guilt circle, it's just strange, so I have to get rid of that. Then the next rule that I really wanted to implement was to read every night consistently before going to sleep, and I've tried to do it for a period of time, but then life gets in the way and I just forget doing so, or I have other things to do, or I just end up with my phone in my hands. And this is the part that I really don't like, because I know that it's unhealthy for a lot of reasons. So I just need to reapply this rule for this year and try not to have my phone in my hands before going to sleep, and more importantly, to read instead, because all of the time that I spend on my phone, and I don't use my phone that often, I'm not like very addicted to this kind of device, but still those are minutes that I may enjoy myself, like reading a book, and I'm just there scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or anything else. My next goal was to start finishing more series, and as I told before, I finished 5 series, so it's not completely zero, so it's not completely bad, but it's not good or as good as I want it to be, because I want to narrow down the number of series that I have that are still going on, and they have to go on because the books are not published yet, not because they're all out there and I'm not reading them. So I really need to focus and to read those, and right now I'm trying to do exactly that. Now when I'm starting a book, at least at this beginning of the year, I'm trying to keep the sequels as near as possible, like probably not all of the books one in a row, because then you have a burnout and it's not good for anyone, but just to, I don't know, just maybe alternate, like have the first book, then something else, then the second book, then again something else, and then the third book, so that I will start finishing those books. Then one goal was to alternate more languages, and I tried to do so, but I wasn't as good as I would love to be. So I really, ideally, I have to read one book per language and then go on like that in a circle, but I'm not as good as I would love to, so I'm still working on that one. And the very last goal was to restart series if I read the first one like 5 years ago and still need to read the second one. And again, here is something on which I'm working on, because I tried to with some of those and it was very useful in order to unhaul books or DNF books, because after a while, when you pick up a book, you realize if you still love that genre, that idea, that setting, or if you're fine like that, and so you don't have to keep one more series on this long waiting list and TBR that you have. So it is useful, and I will continue doing so. And so it's an almost like a work in progress goal. So these were all of my goals for 2019. I definitely have less for 2020, because the more goals I have, the less focused I am on those, so I really need to narrow them down a little bit. And let me know down below if you had some of similar goals for last year, how it went with those goals, and if you are trying to implement some of the same goals for this year, and how is it going, because 1 month, almost 2 months already went by, so we already can start seeing what reading flow we will have this year. So this was it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye! Ciao!